Hi, welcome to the Yetee Show, episode 4. We're here today to talk about halftoning. It's going to be lots of fun. Isn't that right? Yeah. So, as you may have seen, we have a special guest here today, not just the Yetee, but he's also here. We have Mark here, and he is going to be working to show you guys how to do some awesome screen tones for your t-shirts. It's going to be a basic tutorial, nothing too fancy, but the goal is to familiarize you with how Mark does basic halftones and what kind of our style is for halftones, because you can halftone things in a dozen different ways, and Mark has a very specific way to approach basic halftones. So that being said, let's talk about some things. Today we have the launch of a really cool vinyl record called SC88. You might have seen some promotion about it last couple of days. It's a really cool vinyl. I have it right here. It's created by Drew Wise and Equip, and it's basically a soundtrack for an RPG that doesn't exist. You can see it in the pictures in the slideshow up above here, over there. And yeah, that just launched on the website. It's limited edition. There's only 250. The disc itself looks like a PlayStation disc, which is really cool. Other news: we launched a cool new Ooblet shirt this week with Miski art, which is really rad. It's called Oob Bakery. It's really adorable. And since Tiffany is here, I'll mention it. We have a very special line from Tiffany that we're working on. It's going to be launching very soon, so stay tuned to our social media to check it out. Mark's presentation will be 30 or 40 minutes. There's 300? There's 300. Sorry, I was wrong. Yeah, Mark's presentation will be about 30 or 40 minutes, not too long. But it should be really cool and informative. And just muting my computer. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, since Mark is here, he's got a new VHS line coming out in spring. So if you're a fan of his Glitch t-shirts, which I personally am, you can look forward to some cool new shirts. Yeah. So that being said, I think we're pretty much ready to roll. So I'm going to step away from the camera here, and Mark's going to join you to come and show you how to do some halftones. All right, we'll be right back. Oh, hi, Mark.
Hello. It's me.
Ninja Man Turtle.
I'm Mark, and I'm art director at the Yetee, and I do a lot of halftoning and stuff to set up all the shirts because we screen print all of our shirts, and a lot of you guys are artists. Hello, people typing my name in all caps. We screen print all of our shirts in Aurora, Illinois, and it's like the shop does a really amazing job. We have a huge press and everything, and one of my jobs is to just like set up files to send to them. And a lot of artists, you guys are here, you know me like via email and stuff, and I could be a little louder, and yeah, so I'm gonna just do some basic. You can see here I've got the Yetee Kong shirt that Drew designed, and I'm just gonna like go basically over like how to like do like really basic halftone in Photoshop. There's like a million ways to do halftoning, and this is just like what I was trying to say earlier is a lot of the artists who are in here might already sort of like know this stuff, but this is just like if you like really just don't know like the basics and you just want to be like, oh, how can I like set this up, even just to know some of that. If you're sending it to like a screen printer, not even the Yetee, this is just how we do this stuff, but could be any screen printing shop, and you basically just want to be like sort of comfortable being like, what if I'm sending them something and it's not like another 3 hours of work for them or something like that. Just a few steps to like get acquainted with like the basics of having something ready to be, burnt to screens from like even like a flat file or something like that. But okay. Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. I'm not used to
You're doing great, Mark. You're doing great.
Thanks. Not used to being on the internet. Okay, so I figured I would just sort of start by showing like a couple of the main underneath me. You should underneath like the main screen here. You should have like a breakdown of the different specs for like how we do halftoning. So I'm just gonna show like the basic way to do like a little bit of blending and just making sure even if something isn't being halftoned, it's still 9 times out of 10 needs to technically be halftoned, because if you have something that's like, I'll zoom in here at what the original file looked like and how it's you can see that it's blurry, and most of the time if you're drawing in Photoshop you're using a brush tool, like maybe it's a fancy brush, maybe it's just the basic airbrush, Kyle brush or Frendon brush or something like that. And always, even if it's a halftone brush and it's like for halftones, it's probably not actually halftoned, so it's like it's rasterized basically, so it looks something like this, when in reality what you want that to look like is this. So it's basically a bitmapped edge. That's like the number one rule, I guess, that can really actually cause problems even if you've separated it nicely. Like if it's blurry, it's just not gonna work, because it either needs to be like basically once it's being, so I'm gonna be all over the map, just feel free to ask questions and I'll see it like 30 seconds later or whatever in the delay in the chat. But it's like when you're taking the art from Photoshop, where basically I wish that I actually had some visual material to back this up, but it's basically we separate it by each color. At the Yetee we do up to 5 colors plus an underbase, and if it's a sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. Basically, if it's being burnt to a screen for each color, and if it's blurry on the edges, it will still burn on the screen, but you don't have control over like the exact definition of it. So if you're going into halftones that are like really, really tiny, then you basically you just lose that definition and it becomes just garbled basically. So
what you're saying is there's basically a threshold for how big the dots can be in a halftone.
Well, for this is like, it's like we have a threshold for how big the dots can be, but mainly like if it's blurry, it will still be burned to the screen, but you don't have really, it'll basically become like glitched and look bad and not print right. But so for this, basically what the two main tools are, if you're separating from a flat file or even just from a separated file, you basically looking at doing color range, and you're looking at doing color range, and you're looking at doing converting to bitmap to halftone it. So this is like, there's lots of ways you can do this, but this is just like a really basic way. So like something that for this, what you could do is like you go to the marquee tool and you want to color range. This can work for like blending. This can work for like a painting, basically, is where color range could come in handy, but it can also, it's very good for just selecting something really simple like this with solid colors. So you can see here in the, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can definitely see it. Yeah, you can see, so you can see color range, and you just right click color range once you have the marquee tool selected, and then you basically click anything you hear and it'll select everything on your screen.
Matching the same color.
Matching the color that you're selecting. So here I'm selecting the red, and you can see here, and you can, if you hold Command, it previews the whole thing again, so you can look at what you're actually selecting. But the white in this area is what you're selecting. Yeah. The fuzziness, basically, if you're doing 0 fuzziness, that will select just the one value, the exact value. The higher you increase the fuzziness, say I select this red, there's also orange, there's yellow, there's flesh color on here. So if you do that, you'll notice that they start to become visible on there. And if I do it on the blue, the shirt color is blue, so it's actually selecting. If I do it at 0, it's just selecting that blue of the Yetee's face. But if I do it, increase the fuzziness, it starts selecting like everything because there's blue values in that. So the fuzziness going up is really valuable if you have blending colors. Then you're basically looking at like saying, okay, I want to select red, and then if something is like, if you want to select something that's like a green color, you can use the color range to select that, and then you know that if you're separating it to be yellow and blue mixed or something, you can basically select and choose your colors and then go from there. But for something like this that's flat, you can just select that. We'll select the black. Or we'll select the red. So then it's just selected, and then you can create a new layer.
How would you create the new layer?
Oh, right.
What's the specific step?
You can right click. Sorry, in the very bottom in the layers tab, there's just like a new layer.
Yeah.
Create new layer. Or you can press Command Shift N, which is a hotkey for creating a new layer.
Yeah.
And you can name it anything you want. Yeah. So I've done that for the red. So then I press Fill, which is Option Delete. Or you could use this here, this paint bucket tool, but yeah. Option Delete is the best way to do that. So basically, I've selected the red, and it's being just put into a new layer.
You're basically color separating. Is what you're doing. In this case, like you're separating the red from the overall drawing. And
yeah.
Creating a new layer. Okay.
All right. So, like I was saying earlier, in order to do the halftoning, everything needs to be each color needs to be on a separate layer, which a lot of artists are sending it in that way, so that's great. But
typically, right?
Yeah. A lot of the files that we get in from artists are like really good. Like to answer your question there, Manila, we did have it at 45 like a long time ago, and it's like not a huge deal, but depending on the actual art, 35 is a little bit better. But
yeah. So
anyways, getting back into this, it's like basically separating it by each color. So I've actually, instead of doing this just like manually, do this individually. I've just done it in advance, like a few minutes before this, just to like not make you guys
just like
wait
on the
around.
cooking shows.
Yeah.
I've
baked.
Once you're done separating everything, it should look just like this finished recipe.
Yeah. So like I've baked it in the oven for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So this is just separated by each
color.
Each color here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once you have each one separated, you can, this is the part where I'm actually going to halftone now. So the basic way that like, there's different ways to do this, but like in Photoshop, there's a really simple way by converting it to bitmap that you can do halftone. And this is where the specs at the very bottom of the screen will come in handy. So basically what you do is select the layer you want to turn into halftones. So you can go to the layer here and look at the little window pane on the layer and hold Command. I think on a PC that would be Control, and you just click on this little window there, and then you can see it's selected. It'll select everything on that layer. So then you can either right-click Copy or press Command or Control C, and then press Command N, which is create a new file. So that'll bring up the new file dialog. And since you just copied something, it will automatically, depending on the version of Photoshop you have, it'll automatically export the clipboard information of the size of the thing you just copied. If it doesn't, you can just go to Clipboard under Document Type here and choose Clipboard. Yeah. And it will always, unless it just doesn't work, then it won't work. What's that, Glenn?
It'll carry over the dimensions for you.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, if you are making a new file, and you choose Clipboard, whatever you just copied, it'll do those dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there it is. And then you got one layer on a white background. So this is the part where like I have some scripts that I'm gonna make that will sort of show how it does do this really fast, and but this is like the kind of convoluted, simple way to do it. So basically, what you can do is since it's once it's being burnt on a screen, it's all these different colors and they can blend together with halftones. But really, when you're burning a screen, you can only do on or off, like ink or no ink. So so that's why you need to, you can get transparency by having small dots. But really, there's just either like image or no image, and that's the way that it's burnt. So we'll have to do. Well, this is already black, but if you have any color, it'll need to be converted to black, because black is like the value that we'll be working with, because it's bitmap, so it's either black or white, basically. So can do a color overlay of black, and then image mode, convert it to grayscale. You could have probably made a new file as grayscale, but just for the sake of seeing what it looks like before,
Showing all the steps.
you convert it to grayscale. And then when you convert to grayscale, you can flatten it, it's no problem. And then once it's in grayscale, you have bitmap available now under image mode. So go to image mode and back to bitmap. So here's where those specs underneath will come in handy. Basically, it's already at 300 DPI because you copied it over from a file that, one thing I should have prefaced this with is this will only work if you're working at the native size that it's going to be printing at.
Yeah.
Which is the dimensions down there is the basically size of a fairly common screen size for file size for printing on a shirt.
So when you're working with halftones, you have to work at actual print size. You can't work smaller or bigger because it'll ruin the halftones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there.
No, sorry. You were converting to bitmap.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then you go 300 pixels per inch. That's just the DPI of it, the resolution of the file. So, and then you choose halftone screen. I'm gonna do halftone screen for this. There's lots of different options here. 50% threshold could be used for this. I'm not gonna get into it right now. It basically just converts it. If there's any information, transparency or no, it'll just basically make it solid, so it doesn't work for a lot of stuff. For this, it would work, but for the sake of this, I'll do halftone screen, which can work for solids as well. And then frequency is 35. So basically, that just means how many dots there are per lineal inch at the 300 DPI, which emulates real size basically, so like print size. So 300, it says lines per inch. And that's per lineal inch how many little halftones there would be. This is just a good safe size for us because we want to not have the smallest halftones be too tiny, otherwise they won't pick up on fabric. You can go down to 1 pixel for halftoning, tiny little halftones for paper, but for fabric it mainly needs to be 35, or even 25 could work. We have done 45, depending on, it really, at that point, depends on the actual art file and what the art looks like. So that's frequency. And then angle is 22.5 degrees. This is kind of a random number, but it's a safe number because if you're, I think it auto goes to 90 or 0, 90 or 180. And if you do those, it would work, but mainly with 90 degrees or even 45 degrees sometimes can cause a moire effect, which is basically some of you may know it as this optical illusion, and it's usually, if you're halftoning something, you'll see it on a screen where basically if you zoom in at varying levels, there's an optical illusion of the halftones look gigantic or they look really glitched, and there's all the RGB from the monitor is kind of weird colors, and it's actually a really cool looking effect. And basically what it doesn't show up in print usually. If you do it at really direct angles and depending on the size, it can actually show up and look bad.
Manila called it the Wario effect.
The Wario effect. And so if you do it at 90, you could actually get real life moire effect on a shirt or on a poster or something, which would not be good. But you'll probably see it on screen if you're doing it regardless. And basically the actual cause of it is basically competing repetitive grids. So like if you take a picture of like an old TV or even like a new TV, you'll get that like kind of weird warping effect. And it's basically because you're taking a photo on a digital camera, and that photo has like a grid sensor with pixels and a certain amount of pixels, and it's a grid. And then you're taking a photo of another grid that's, even if it's CRT, you get crazy ones because it's like a scan line thing. So when those compete, it basically causes like an optical illusion, and it's pretty cool. But like yeah, and like nice, did it. That sounds awesome. If you could do it on purpose for print, play around with it. Yeah.
GTC says the physical tension of the screen affects it as well, which is true.
Oh yeah,
on
yeah.
The technical end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do a safer, this is like, yeah. I don't know who you are, but if you have,
He works at a shop in Aurora, actually.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you have experience doing like actual printing on the on like the screens, then yeah, like on the floor, then yeah, you probably have like.
That's why Mark has these specific settings, because we know what like we're working in tandem with the printers at the shop, and we know what works with them. So that's why we're doing 35 and 22.5 and all the settings that Mark has.
Yeah, and the tension, like you're saying, the tension of the screen, and then also there's the frequency, not frequency, but there's like the size of the mesh. So like these are different factors. I'm not going to get into the print shop side of it, not only because I'm not really that experienced, but also because this is just sort of a tutorial for the digital art side of it, I guess. Okay, now the next one. This is taking me forever to get through that, just the one halftone. So basically, round is the best. It just, you could do ellipse, and it kind of would look the same. Round is good. You could do any of these. Cross is cool. Like they would all work but for us, for printing on fabric, the safest way, like the easiest on the eye, like the ones that print the best, that burn onto the screen the best, that look just like blending colors, is round. Looks great. For example, with that angle, you'd really notice it with lines because it's just straight lines. So, and you'd really notice what angle you choose. So if you're experimenting, you could try different angles with the lines, and you'd see it straight up.
Personally, I really like line halftones.
Yeah.
It has kind of a cool effect to it. But it really depends on the context of the design, to be honest.
Yeah.
Some designs work really well with dots, and some don't. Drew likes to use the dither halftones a lot in his artwork.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm sidetracking.
Diffusion dither, that's a whole nother I have to go back for
that's
the settings.
That's another episode.
Yeah,
of the
yeah, I
show.
do want to do that though, because there's so many different techniques, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to like share what I know for the basics here, just because like I feel like it'd be helpful for some people. But if I'm like missing stuff, just jump in with questions on the chat, because I can read it right here, and I think everybody seems to be like pretty good about asking for.
Was that a passion fruit LaCroix? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I'm drinking key lime.
Okay, so I'm choosing round, and
not an ad.
I'm choosing round, and I'm gonna hit OK. And it like literally doesn't look any different because it's very subtle, but it's basically being converted to that bitmap edge. I'll do one with actual next layer will be halftone, but at this point you want to bring this back into the actual art file. So in order to select this, you need to actually convert it back to grayscale at a size ratio of 1:1. You can do that in image mode, back to grayscale. And then there's a couple different ways you can do this, but just color range again, select black. If the black is very subtle, you can select white and invert your selection. The key is to select the black from what you just did. So copy that, go back into the file and paste it. If you have selected if you still have the selection of what you just copied into that new file, it should just paste directly back onto where you took it from. So now that's a black layer. So I'll do one that actually blends the color just for the sake of this right now.
GTC asks, how do we handle traps, or is that in the next tutorial?
That will be, I can get to that. For actually, for our style for shirts, we don't actually do the trapping on it. So the closest approximation to Oh my gosh. The closest approximation to like trapping, I'll just is that we do here is like, so we do an underbase, which I can get to at the end, which we could actually do like, we do trapping for posters, but we don't do it for shirts. We just do the crisp edges that line up, and that's the instructions from the shop that we have here. So, okay, so I will get back on here and just blend this. So this is like orange. This is a shirt that Drew designed, and it's like it was originally the side. It's the cover of a ROM hack that Drew did, and it's amazing. And it's also on the side of an arcade cab, and it looks amazing. And so it wasn't exactly separated for screen printing. So we're gonna just like a couple of these things like oranges and subtle differences for red. So basically what we could do for this orange pizza crust is like, it's just orange, but we can mix orange with say this red and this yellow. So we'll color overlay. So what you just need to do is double click this layer, orange. I just labeled it orange after I separated it. Double click it, color overlay and layer styles. You can choose the color here, and we'll go with the background. So it's the same as that. And then you'll duplicate the layer, which I think you can do by right clicking. I don't ever do this without hotkeys. Layer, duplicate layer. Or you can press Command J. So those are your options for that. And then color overlay again on this duplicate layer of the orange layer, and can select yellow. So now it just looks yellow, but it's just completely covering it. So you change the opacity, let's just say 45. That's not quite orange enough. So we could do maybe 60. All right. So then you select that again, do the exact same process for this layer over top here. So we'll select it, just Command, click on the window, and then copy, and I'll just do it here just so you can see it, file new, and you'll notice again, clipboard, it's just copying from the clipboard, same file size dimensions, paste it. So we got this here. And there's new ways to do this. There's different ways to do this. You can use scripts. There's even some Photoshop stuff out there. I'm actually going to create some tutorial script stuff and send it out in the Yetee newsletter. So I don't know if Glenn can post a link to subscribe to Yetee Artist newsletter. You're probably also subscribed already, but if you're not, I'll be doing a blog post and artist newsletter about halftones with some useful resources in the future.
Share that link right now.
Sweet. Yeah, Glenn's gonna set that up and share a link to subscribe. I'm sure a lot of you are already subscribed, but so now I have to repeat the step of converting this to be 60% opacity because when I copied it over, it didn't copy the layer style. One thing you can do if you're changing opacity, you could rasterize the layer style first, and that would just rasterize the color overlay and the opacity. But for the sake of this, I'm just doing it again here. All right, so the same steps, image mode. Well, first step is color overlay black, because that's how you'll get the actual value of it. So as you can see, it's not black, it's gray because it's 60% opacity. Image mode, grayscale. Flatten, discard color information. Then go back to image mode. Now you've got bitmap available. Same settings as before, 300 DPI, halftone screen, 35 frequency, 22.5 degree angle round shape, and you'll see now it's actually halftoned. So a point of interest here is that like if you do it at 50%, that's usually good for blending. And you can see this is like a solid tone with holes in it versus just dots. And the actual, it seems like it varies. I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat knows the actual math here, but my gut is that 45% is usually, if it's not like a massive amount of information on the file, 45% opacity is usually where it's this threshold where it shifts over from being dots to being like a solid with holes. But I think it probably depends on factors that I don't understand. Okay. So same step, convert back to grayscale so you're able to select it, color range, and select what you just created. Copy, Go back in here. Now you'll see, since I had it selected, it just covers that exact spot. And delete, just, you can hide or delete the copy that you did there of the original layer. That's just the source of what we just half-toned. And then do a color overlay again, and we did yellow. So
what you've done here basically is you put a yellow halftone on top of the bright red to create the illusion of orange.
it's true.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit on the yellowy side, but when you zoom out, I mean, if you zoom out, good rule of thumb, if you're actually pretty experienced with halftoning, if you zoom out, it'll probably give you the more effect, but it'll also give you an idea of like what's competing and what it'll actually look like, because what it looks like here often is different than what it looks like in print. Like I'm gonna do next, I'll do the skin tone, and we try to avoid doing pink and white which is a really standard of halftoning. We have trouble with that in the shop, and it always comes out way too pink. So I'll do this halftone, and then if you zoom out, it basically, you'll see how it looks very pink. But just for the sake of this demo. But you can see here, there's another little bit of crust. Yeah. The halftone.
Oh yeah, a little pizza crust there.
Yeah. So here's the skin layer that I color separated from that flat file. So, and right now, like we actually, for the sake of, I'll just do this to show you how to halftone. But for Yetee, we actually have like Kim is one of our printers, and she's like really found this great ink that looks like pretty good flesh tone, and we usually just end up going to that because it's like more reliable and the person doesn't end up looking either pink or way too pale or something like that. But I know that it's a lot easier to print skin tones on paper and stuff too. So I'll just do it because it does seem like a real classic halftoning thing, like Liechtenstein comic panels being painted halftone. Skin dots. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll choose this background color we can mix this background color and white to get the skin tone. So I'll start by just color overlaying the skin as white.
Shout out to Kimbo Slice.
Yes.
Yetee HQ.
She's the best.
60505 represent.
That's the area code?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to LaCroix for making sweet passion fruit.
Glenn's doing his shout outs. Okay.
Shout out to everyone who turned up. You're the halftones of our heart.
Thanks for showing up. Thank you. Shout out to everybody. Okay. Sorry, I'm extremely awkward. Thanks for listening to me. Okay. So I'm going to copy the skin layer that I just color overlaid as white. And I'll double click again on the layer style and do a color overlay of this background color.
Oh my god.
And it looks a little scary.
Mike
and then
turned into Red Hulk.
See, this is it at 45. So just to give you our orange, we did at 60%, and this just looks ridiculous. So we could say
it looks like a sunburn.
We could do 30 maybe for this, and it'll look. Let's just do 25. I would never. You can do it, but usually your best range is like maybe like 30 to 60 for like transparency percentage is about 30 to 60 probably. For like doing getting like the actual frequency of halftones, because at 35 and at these specs, if you're going like 20 or lower, they're going to be like tiny, and it might not stick basically. Okay, so now we've created this copy, and I'll just do this one this time for example. So you've got the color overlay of red on top, and then you've got 25% opacity. Just bump it down to 23. And then you rasterize layer style. I'm gonna give you an example of an issue that might come up if you're doing this exactly as I'm showing you, but you're having a problem, which is a really common problem. If it's under 50%, so that's rasterized, and this is rasterized at 25%. So if you select this, it won't allow you to select it, saying because it's under 50%. Warning: no pixels are more than 50% selected. So that if you just press Command A and select the entire canvas, and then copy, and do the exact same process from there, it'll work fine. So paste that in there, and then they're pasted at the, it says 100%, but it's actually at 25%. So same process as before. Once you've got it in your new file, grayscale, flatten, discard the color information, bitmap, same specs as before, written underneath, and then you've got it here. So, and then back to grayscale. And this is an example of, okay, I'll just do that again. I did it really fast. Basically what you can do is you just right click color range, and since it's tiny and you just want to click in the white space, you can select the white space, press Command or Control Shift I, and that inverts your selection. It's another hotkey. And then copy it and go back here. And now since I'm pasting it in, it might not line up, which is fine. Sometimes even if you've got the selection still selected there, it might not line up. That's one thing where I haven't actually figured that out either. But most of the time it'll appear where you copied it from, but if you've had to select all, it will appear in a different spot. And this is you're wanting to not have that happen, so. But if it is, you can go in and you can, since it's bitmapped, which was what we just did, you can see the edges. You'll know if it's lined up because
it's pixel perfect.
Exactly. Glenn just said it's pixel perfect. I don't know how clearly you guys can hear him. Okay.
These keys are too hot.
So now it's just black there, but you can do the same step, color overlay it. That color, it's auto-selecting the last color I did. So there you go, that's a classic like halftone look. And if you zoom out, you'll see that they just look like little, they got skin now.
The flesh is here.
They have flesh.
Thank you for giving me flesh, Mark.
Glenn is referencing a YouTube video about
C-3PO not having flesh in the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Anakin calls C-3PO an outer shell.
Yeah. It's really out of context, so sorry about that. It probably sounds really gross. Yeah. So here's some, like, that's some really basic stuff. This is a design by Drew. It's really awesome. You can buy it, I think, on the Yetee.
Yeah, you can get that shirt on the Yetee. It's really cool. It's the only one with both me and Mike on it. And
yeah.
Pizza.
Yeah. And it's got pizza. It's got a hot dog. Those are both vegan items.
And if you're ever lucky enough, you can play the game The Yetee Kong if you attend a Yetee event, or sometimes we bring it to conventions. It's a really cool ROM hack that Drew put together. He ROM hacked the original Donkey Kong. And
yeah, it's crazy.
The sprites. It was like the craziest surprise ever. We were in Portland, and Drew just shows up with working NES cartridges of a Yetee Donkey Kong game, featuring Mike and I, and like Yetee themed things. It was pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah, like I don't even know how he did it. I don't know if he's watching right now, but.
Hi, Drew, if you're watching.
Okay, so.
Are you gonna halftone one more file?
Yeah.
You're gonna speedrun it?
Well, I'm gonna show like basically what I'm. This is just like a really flat one, but I have another file that's like being separated really nicely from Kevin Figarigan.
Oh yeah, yesterday's daily.
Yeah, and basically, it's like got here. I'll just open it up. It's got like it's like an example of like what I think a lot of you guys are Photoshop savvy people are sending in, just like separated by color, and it has transparencies. So I think this is it. Okay, yeah, here we go. So this is like really awesome. Kevin did a great job on this. He's been working really hard on like separating stuff for trying to make it print nice, basically. So got different layers, not cut out underneath, they're just solid layers. And as you can see, there's like blending and stuff here, and they're very it's very blurry because it is rasterized. So for the sake of this, I'll just do this really quick.
Oh, you're doing this one. This is today's shirt.
Is this today's shirt?
Yeah, this is today's shirt.
Oh yeah, I was gonna do today's shirt. I thought it was yesterday's shirt. I can trouble keeping track. Okay, so this is today's shirt. I thought it'd be fun.
Mark isn't even doing a tutorial anymore. He's just literally doing his job.
I'm just
on stream.
I'm just doing work. I'm just like, oh, I gotta catch up, so you guys can just watch me. Just send me bits while I'm halftoning. I should start a channel while I do that. Okay, so I'll do the same steps. This is be the only thing that with this that I'm foreseeing that I'm gonna have to do is maybe play around with the values of the red. But let's just
PogChamp, if you think Mark's doing a good job, make sure you send your PogChamps.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It sounds like Twitch lingo.
Okay. 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 So I'll just select this layer called lines, and I'll put it into this one. Paste it there again. Oh yeah, Kevin has been adding these. This is another technique you can do. It's like sort of serves as like a printer's mark, which I won't. We actually in our file we actually use print registration marks, but I won't show that for the sake of this. So I'll just actually crop those out. All right. So back to that one. Select this, and then grayscale, and you can see there's some like that monkey over there is not 100% opacity.
Transparency to him.
Yeah, there we go. So you can see there's halftones there. All right, and then we'll go back here. You can see there. Yes. So now it looks a bit janky close up, but it's like...
That's Kevin's brush style, right?
Yeah. So it's basically... This one might actually need some more finessing, but I'm going to, for the sake of this, I'll just get to this point where all of the layers are actually bitmapped and halftoned. So this is the one where this is where you can, I'll just copy this and do a new layer for the red. This is I know I was saying we don't do skin tones, but like right here, once you get it in here on white, you can see like it's very, very faint here. So what I'll actually do for this is duplicate it. So now it's a little bit more defined. And the duplicate layer, I'll probably do at about 75. What this is basically doing, and then I can merge this. This is basically just doing is increasing the value of that. It's still faint, but I'm gonna just try it. So image mode, grayscale. So you can see there. And then this is where you can see the angle on this one too.
Kevin Bobbitt says, "Hi, my name is R23X, and this is my speedrun of Kevin's shirt, and we have Glenn on the couch."
Amazing.
Now Mark here is using a hotkey glitch. It's frame perfect, but if he gets it just right, it shaves 2 minutes off his run.
All right, I'll select this, put it back in. Wait, where am I? Over here. All right, so you can see it's over top. Oh, I didn't turn the layer block. Oh yeah. You're right. I missed a step. Thank you, Manila.
Manila, keeping us legitimate here.
Let's go back in the history. I mean, for the sake of this, it actually might have worked anyways. But you're totally right. I'm actually not. I don't actually do this every time. I have set up like I have different techniques, and I've also been experimenting with other software, and I'm actually hoping to do like a set of as I already mentioned earlier, but like Photoshop scripts and like a package file basically for Yetee artists. So if you're everyone subscribe to the newsletter because like it's basically gonna be awesome.
People are saying, "Oh no, you'll have to reset the run. That's a 2-minute time loss. You hate to see that happen."
Back to the speedrunning references. I'm not actually, but yeah. So basically, yeah. Please let me know if I'm doing something that's silly. Okay, so back to here, and then since I copied it again, it didn't line up. So we'll just go in here, and since it's bitmapped, it's easier to line up.
So
you can see the rough edges.
basically, like when Mark makes the halftones, he's having to export the layer to another file to bitmap them. Because if you bitmap them in the main art file, it flattens the entire artwork. So you can't do.
Yeah, if you were to, yeah, Glenn's right. If you were to just do that on one in the file you're doing, it would convert the whole image to bitmap, and it would basically glitch it and make it look. It could look really cool. And with a photo that's a black and white photo, you could totally do that. But for the sake of numerous colors, it just won't work. So.
And Mark with the perfect bitmap lineup. Let's give him a round of applause. That was a great bitmap lineup. It's a hard trick to do.
Again, this is like, I'm going to probably need to finesse this, but these are too small. But I'm going to just go with it for this. Bit mapping with Mark.
Welcome
for Switch.
To bitmapping with Mark. Now Mark's already prepared the layers for this recipe. For you, you'll have to color separate each layer before starting.
That would be amazing. It's like a cutout of me.
Order your bitmapping with Mark brush set today. It's going to be on the Nintendo Direct, bitmapping with Mark for the Nintendo Switch.
I've been following that Twitter put everything on Switch, and it just, I think it's a bot just tweeting every single Switch game, every single video game that's ever existed.
Put bad dudes on the Nintendo Switch.
No, that's low hanging fruit. It's like put some obscure game that like no one's ever heard of or wants on anything that came out for PC 25 years ago. When's it coming to Switch? And it just auto tweets that every like 10 minutes, different games. It's the best account ever.
Put Discworld on Nintendo Switch.
Sorry, I can't really talk and do this. I'm gonna go back here.
I'm sorry.
I'm totally just. You're seeing like a window into my mind how this mouse moves. It's like just madness. Okay.
It's pretty much just Bob Ross with halftoning with Mark.
So this is like a rudimentary way of doing it, but just showing you like how like it kind of looks and feels.
When you turn off layers on a screen printing file, sometimes it makes some really scary images.
It can be, yeah.
Do you have any memory of like a really haunting halftoning file or project that you had to do where like you created a ghost image by turning off a layer?
Yeah, like every single thing. It's like anything with eyes is like, it's like, it just turns into like demons or something.
Oh
this one's bad because it's like, yeah, or like get rid of the white layer and it's like.
Chat has come up with a name for your show. It's the Tone Zone.
Oh my god. Dude.
Welcome to the Tone Zone.
I seriously, yeah. It's my ASMR tone zone. It's like relaxing halftones. I can play tones that relax you and do the halftones.
Oh, it doesn't matter what computer you have. You can make t-shirts in MS Paint.
Yeah, well, MS Paint is an example of something that's already bitmapped completely. So, like, you can't have rasterized edges. So, you could, if you sent me an MS Paint file, that would be awesome. Because it just exports as a bitmap file. Okay, I'm getting really sidetracked here. Paste that. This only had a slight amount of actual halftoning on it, as you can see here. So basically, I won't get into it, but for people who want to have really crisp lines that are it's just line art. Like I've actually gotten a lot of, I think I've mentioned it to artists before, but if you're sending in, like a lot of you guys like know halftones. So if you're sending something in that you've halftoned blending and it's all actual halftones on the color, but the line art it's solid, so you maybe don't think it needs to be halftoned, you should actually run that through the same steps, but do 50% threshold, and that will just convert it to bitmap and get rid of the blurry edges. So basically,
it's a great way to make any layer.
What's that?
It's a good way to make a layer 100% certain for screen printing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, basically what it does is it just converts it to like solid crisp edge.
Right.
I'm getting sidetracked here.
Sorry.
Let's see. Oops. Okay.
So is this one pretty close to done?
Let me see. Yeah, I'm almost done. I'm just gonna read this. What's this? Yeah, like it's actually really cool. Like I don't know. Whenever I explain screen printing to people, it's like amazing how it is actually done. Like with the actual screens, and basically, so like it's like this will actually this is red right now, but it's like actually converted back to be solid black in the on the print floor when they're burning a screen for each color that is screen printed. So anything that's black will basically be like will cover this coating on the screen, and once it's exposed to light, it breaks it down. So you pressure wash that coating on the screen, and it washes away everything that was covered from the light on this black here. So then that becomes the red layer, and it's an actual screen with mesh, and it's like goes down to very, very, very fine. So maybe like 3, 4, 6 pixels.
Yetee headquarters, we can shoot a little live video.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
like
next time we head down to Yetee headquarters, we'll do a live stream of like setting up the press and how things get printed. The other side of halftoning. Please? Okay, sounds good. Oh yeah, the music in the background is Equip, the album I was talking about at the beginning. So if you're liking the jams, those are the tunes.
I'll do this one at 50% threshold just so you guys can see what it looks like. It won't really look any difference, but from my experience, basically there's a chance on the edges that so if you're doing line art and there's no transparency, you want to do 50% because it gives an even crisper edge.
Yeah, because sometimes brushes will have like 50% pixel, right?
Yeah. And like every single brush you're using, unless I'll actually show you something in a sec regarding, I just want to do actual shout out to Misky because she, I don't think she's here, but, well, maybe she is. Misky, are you here? But if she's watching this later or something, basically whenever she's drawing, she uses the pencil tool, which is freaking awesome. So basically, I'll just show you, paste this back. Yeah, you can see how it was solid. But it was like, this is the edge, right? So that's the issue. And then if you have, I'll just do it at this range too. So you have a brush, like this is I think this is like just a basic brush tool.
Yeah.
But even if you think that's like airbrush. So if you do solid, hard, it's like a totally solid brush that looks solid in Photoshop. It's got a hard edge. It's still quite blurry.
Yeah.
But if you go into the brush and you go into mode, or sorry, not mode, for brush, you can go here and you can click and hold the brush tool and then go down to pencil tool, and then there you go. So it makes it like MS Paint. But, you wouldn't notice it from a distance. But close up, it's really, really, it's really useful. And you can actually do that with the eraser too. So if you press E or go to the eraser, I always have it set on the pencil tool, so it causes me problems. But you can, it's counterintuitive. It's the eraser, but it's called the pencil tool.
Yeah.
So you go here and you select pencil, and then you want to erase something, and it erases it, and it keeps it crisp. So that's the key, is having crisp edges.
Yeah. No half tones. No, sorry, no half pixels. No transparencies.
Yeah.
Cool.
What time are we looking at, Glenn?
We should probably jump over to playing some video games soon, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just show the final product on this one?
All right. So that is now... What time is it? Oh, yeah, I guess it's being like 30, 40 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So this looks horrifying. I must have deleted a layer here. Which layer did I not... Oh, here we go. There we go. There's the white layer.
That's the white layer.
So,
Beautiful.
I mean, and then for basic, we just undercut. If you do this, what I'm doing here is I'm selecting the top layer. This is just a simple way of doing it. And you go underneath each layer and delete what's underneath it.
Yeah.
So they could be in any order.
Yeah. Does it matter what order they are when they print them?
It does, and it depends case by case, and it depends on both the color and the amount of ink on it. And that's a call that our print shop makes. Kim is really excellent at looking at what needs to be in what order, and basically, like, what you just choose. I don't actually ever do that, so I'm fortunate enough that I just have to focus on the halftones. But
yeah. Once they take it into their hands, they handle all that stuff.
But what I was saying was that you don't want to delete underneath before it's halftoned, otherwise it won't be crisp like this. So, yeah. And then I'll just do a quick underbase thing, and underbase can be different based on different styles of how people do things. And our print shop makes a lot of calls based on what could be underbased. But one of the keys for that number 35 frequency is that it actually gives us tiny little dots, usually, unless it gets very faint, that are about like 4, 5, 6, 7 pixels wide. And that way, when you do an underbase, which you'll just select, this is a simple way of doing underbase for all of the colors. You just select all of the layers, so you can command click in the windows, or you could merge them and select them all. And you make a new layer. And then you have, so this is like basically everything that has ink is selected now. So
yeah.
And then you can go here, go to select, modify, and contract. This is a tool that really, really, really messes things up if you have it rasterized. So like this is the only once it's being bitmapped. So you go to 2, contract it by 2, and then you can fill this. And it's just basically a thing that goes underneath that's like off-white, kind of translucent, and it coats the shirt before we used to do 6 colors, but we do 5 colors plus base now, and that basically means that we have a white layer underneath that makes this, like on fabric, it makes the colors way brighter. And yeah, it's like, I don't know, you guys, I guess I'll just open up for quick questions. Sure. And yeah, so this is basically what it looks like. Simple way of halftoning. I don't know if
quick questions, and then we're gonna play Taiko.
Yeah, I've got you guys here on chat. I can see the chat here, so let me know if you have any questions. And then I think Glenn wants to play some games, so
yeah, we're gonna play some Taiko and give away some prizes. Prizes. How do you get your hair so fabulous?
Oh, I can't see the questions on here anymore.
You can't see the chat?
No. It's a chat, but it's sorry if you guys are being, I'll just press enter maybe. Will that work? Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're behind on the chat.
I think your computer stopped working.
Okay, I'll read them out to you. Mark, how do you get your hair so fabulous?
Oh, I don't know. I wash it occasionally.
If the base is white, can the white layer be base, or do you need an extra white so it shows good?
We can we don't do that. You basically use white. Was that Manila asking?
Yeah, that was FY Chan.
Oh, okay. We like that's a common thing with screen printing for sure. We don't do that at the Yetee shop though.
How long have you been doing this, Mark? Also, what was the first shirt you made, if you remember?
What was the first shirt that I made?
Soldier.
Glenn would know.
Soldier.
Oh no, the first shirt that I did was a reference to Final Fantasy IX. It's like
right.
Taurus synthesis shop, and it's
Yeah.
basically this reference to this synthesis shop in Lindblom, and I'm like, that shop. I want to make a shirt about that. Fake business for no reason. Oh, and I've been doing this ever since the Yetee hired me 4 years ago.
4 years ago on April 1st.
Yeah.
Manila asks, what's your symbol?
My what, like my star sign?
I don't know.
My symbol?
It just says, what's your symbol?
Is that like, am I just nervous on stream and don't understand the question? My
Okay. Yeah. So how
Wait.
many colors do you use? How many colors do we have in the shop?
I'm a Virgo. How many we basically? Oh, how many colors do we use?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I didn't get into on this was Pantone colors. And we actually have like a huge wall of Pantones there where we mix colors. You can, we have like kind of unlimited colors, but we're trying to get more organized with that recently with a big list of actual colors. But in terms of the number of colors, we do 5 max for t-shirts. But for the choice of what those colors could be, like kind of sky's the limit. You can actually go into Photoshop and when you're doing color overlay, you can choose libraries. And if you choose Pantone coded, solid coded, or really any Pantone one, it'll give you a list of all the Pantones, and it'll try to auto match it, which a lot of them will throw you off because they're bad. They just like the screen just looks different basically. But you use one of these, and you can reference it. Like there's some that are just called red, and you like look at it, and it's like that's really really orange. Like here's the notorious one that always held me up at like pretty recently, but it's like it's called warm red, and it's just like orange. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna bump over.
Oh, are there any more questions?
No, that was it.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna bump over to the game stream, so we'll be right back. Hang tight. Hey guys, we're just getting set up. Hold on one sec. Yeah, the mic is on. I'm just setting up the camera and shit. Gameplay. Why is it still showing your computer?
It's not even plugged in.
I know, right? Hang on. Another application. Okay.
This mic's gonna be right in the line of fire.
What? Mikey like bikey? Awesome work, Mark. HD Pro webcam. It's turning on now. Hold on.
People are like, "You're still alive." Vanessa's just like, "You're still alive." I'm guessing this is being live streamed.
Yeah, this is being live streamed.
Oh, it's my hair. My hair does look great on camera.
Okay, now we got... Oh, look.
Oh, sweet. This is going well.
Yeah, going real great. Okay, and then this needs to be... We're going to unplug you. Unplug you in. Hold on, we're working to get picture. Oh, yo, Equip just joined in.
Hey, dude. Thanks for complimenting my hair. Just opened the text.
Almost there, guys. Almost there. No signal. Can you... Can you unplug that...
It's just, you can't, it's not loading?
The Elgato one and plug it back in?
Uh-oh. Technical difficulties.
This is not as easy as I thought.
Unplug what?
Unplug the HDMI and plug it back in.
Okay.
No signal.
Sweet.
Okay, I might have to end the stream and come back. Hang tight, guys. Be right back.